You want to smoke. Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. And do you want to smoke? Well, that's a question you don't often think about, but is that the reason why you don't own a diesel vehicle? You don't want to be smoking around when you're driving down the highway? Well, diesel vehicles don't smoke anymore, and there are many reasons why you would want to own a vehicle powered by diesel. Let's start with some of my sources. The internet was invaluable to ensure that all my facts were both accurate and informative and correct. All these facts are also backed up by my father, who I learned a lot about diesel engines because he attended the Nashville Auto Diesel College, and he has many diesel engines on his property: cars, generators, tractors, lawn equipment, all sorts of things. Now, fuel efficiency wasn't something my father always concentrated on. However, it is something that is near and dear to the heart of people in other nations, where they are really big supporters of diesel power in automobiles. Over 50% in some nations have diesel cars. Now, I've told you about how diesel is a good source. However, diesel is also clean now in this country. We have some new regulations coming into full impact at the end of this year, and we'll have the cleanest diesel around the world. So diesel is clean, it's a good source for your power, and it's a good option for you to use. Diesel. Why is it good? Why would we want to use diesel? Well, let's talk about the power content of a gallon of diesel. Let's compare it to a gallon of gasoline. A gallon of gasoline, 114,000 BTUs. That's British thermal units, a measure of energy. A gallon of diesel has 130,000 BTUs. So that means, same amount, diesel has 14% more energy than gasoline. Now, we've talked about how diesel's cleaner now in this country. That is the choice the world over for fuel efficiency. But what about E85 ethanol? We're always hearing about ethanol. Ethanol is the great stuff that's supposed to save the country, and we're producing it all the time. It's good stuff, right? Well, let's talk about ethanol. First of all, we talked about ethanol being a real good thing. What's the difference between ethanol and diesel? Well, diesel is an oil derivative, and oil and water don't mix, so that's why we can move oil across this country in pipelines. We can't do that with ethanol. Ethanol absorbs water. So it takes a diesel truck on our roads hauling that ethanol from the refinery to the place where the gasoline is actually mixed because of the way ethanol is. It absorbs water. Let's talk about how we produce ethanol in this country. Let's consider an acre that we wanted to farm to produce a crop that would yield ethanol. What do we do in this country? Corn. We all know it's corn. We use corn. So an acre of corn would yield 321 gallons of ethanol if we were to farm it and refine it. If we use that same acre like they do in Brazil, we'd farm sugarcane on it. And if we farm sugarcane on it, that same acre would produce 802 gallons of ethanol. So simply a different crop on the same acre, farmed with the same diesel tractors, would yield 2.5 times more ethanol. So let's talk about the ethanol. It's supposed to be good stuff, right? Let's compare it with gasoline and diesel. We talked about how diesel has 130,000 BTUs per gallon, gasoline 114,000 BTUs per gallon, ethanol a whopping 76,000 BTUs per gallon. And when you do the numbers, you see that diesel has 70% more energy than ethanol does. Oh, heck on all this stuff. This is just numbers. We need a hybrid, right, Ron? We need a hybrid to really save this nation. Hybrids are great for their intended purposes of running around the city. But when we look at how a hybrid operates, it's not as good for longer trips and things like that. Why? Let's look at how the hybrid operates. We have our gasoline and ethanol mix running an engine. That's turning a generator. That's going to batteries. Then when we need the power, the batteries run some electric motors, and that turns your transmission, and that turns the wheels of your vehicle. Now let's talk about a diesel vehicle. The diesel engine runs, turns your transmission, that turns your wheels. So simply having a simpler system allows you to lose less to conversion, allows you to lose less with friction, and ends up with a more efficient drivetrain. Speaking of less, you will lose less when you sell your diesel-powered vehicle. In this country, a diesel car that has a gasoline counterpart, when an otherwise identical vehicle is sold with a diesel engine, it has a higher resale value. So what we talked about? We've talked about how diesel now is clean and doesn't smoke with our new regulations. We talked about examples of how other countries know how efficient diesel is for their fuel dollars. It's very important how they spend it, because in other countries, fuel is a lot more expensive than it is here. We've talked about ethanol, how it has to be produced and transported, how much power it has, and just see how in this country ethanol is just a show to say that, yeah, we're clean. And then we looked at electric cars. While it has a very good place when needed, electric cars still lose on friction, and diesel cars have a better resale value. So in the future, if possible, for your next vehicle, please consider a diesel vehicle. It will give you better resale value, and while it's more expensive to purchase, it will provide, hold on, I saw the red. While it's more expensive to purchase, it gives you better resale value and better fuel economy. And knowing this, diesel really is the smoke-free thing to do. Thank you.